The crisp November air bit at Emily Carter's cheeks as she pulled into the driveway of her family's colonial-style home in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. Clutching a homemade pecan pie, her annual offering to the Thanksgiving table, she braced herself for the familiar ache of returning to a place that no longer felt like home. At 32, Emily had spent years building a life in the city, but the pull of family duty always dragged her back to this house, where warmth was as scarce as the autumn leaves still clinging to the trees. Her best friend, Rachel Nguyen, had warned her against coming this year. "Don't go, Em. That house is a black hole. No one there has your back." But Emily, ever the optimist, thought she could handle one more holiday. She was wrong. The front door creaked open, and her mother, Linda, greeted her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome home, Emily," she said, her voice flat, as if rehearsing a line from a script. Her gaze darted past Emily, landing somewhere on the porch. No hug, no spark of joy, just a perfunctory nod. Inside, her father, Tom, sat in his recliner, engrossed in the sports section of the newspaper. He glanced up, gave a curt nod, and returned to his reading, as if her arrival was no more significant than the mail delivery. Her younger sister, Jessica, 26, sprawled across the living room couch, scrolling through her phone with an intensity that suggested Emily was invisible. The pecan pie, warm from the oven, sat awkwardly in Emily's hands, its sweet aroma a stark contrast to the chill in the room. Emily set the pie on the dining table, hoping someone might acknowledge it. Instead, Linda whisked it away to a corner of the table, placing it with the care one might reserve for a fragile heirloom. No one said a word. Dinner unfolded in a suffocating silence, broken only by the clink of silverware. As Emily sipped her water, her eyes flicked to Jessica, who was picking at her food with disinterest. A month ago, an email from a stranger named Mark had shaken Emily's world, claiming to be Jessica's fiancé. He said she'd borrowed $15 from him and then ghosted him entirely. The memory of that message, read in the middle of a hectic shift at her accounting firm, burned in her mind. She couldn't stay silent any longer. Placing her napkin on her lap, Emily took a deep breath. "I need to talk to everyone," she said, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. All eyes turned to her. Tom's brow furrowed, and Jessica let out an exasperated sigh. "A man named Mark contacted me. He says he's Jessica's fiancé and that she borrowed a large sum of money from him. Now she's cut him off completely." The room froze. Jessica's fork slipped, clattering against her plate. Linda's face went pale, her eyes wide not with shock but with something closer to guilt. As if she'd been caught in a lie she couldn't unweave. Tom leaned back, arms crossed, and muttered, "That's none of your business, Emily." The words hit like a slap. "None of my business?" Emily's voice trembled, not with fear but with a rising tide of hurt and anger. "He emailed me at work. I had to read that in the middle of a client meeting. Do you know how humiliating that was? And that's not all. I've already paid back $10 of that loan for her." She reached into her bag, pulled out a folder, and placed a printed bank statement on the table. Dates, amounts, transfers, all meticulously documented. No one moved, except Jessica, who glanced at the papers with a smirk. "You're being ridiculous," she said, her tone dripping with disdain. "I didn't borrow anything. He gave me that money as a gift. He's the one who got all worked up and hurt himself." The casual cruelty in her voice made Emily's chest tighten. "Jessica," Emily said, her voice breaking not from anger but from heartbreak. "Do you even realize what you're doing? This isn't the first time. You've been in trouble with money for months, borrowing, never repaying, hiding it from everyone. I know about the gambling, the online betting sites. I've paid off your credit card bills. Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Jessica Formas de Pagamento. Jessica shrugged, her eyes sliding away. "Nobody asked you to do that. Don't act like I owe you anything." Emily's heart sank. "I wasn't born into this family to clean up your messes," she said quietly, her voice trembling with the weight of years of unspoken pain. The room fell silent, the bank statement on the table screaming truths no one wanted to hear. Then Tom slammed his napkin down. "You're done here, Emily. You're no longer part of this family. Get out. Emily froze. She had been the financial backbone of this household for years, co-signing their mortgage at 22, fresh out of college, and pouring nearly 80% of the payments, over $250, into it over a decade. She'd covered Jessica's gambling debts, utility bills, even car repairs, all without a single thank you. And now, she was being cast out. I was trying to protect this family, she said, her voice cracking. I cleaned up her messes so none of this would fall on you. That's just your self-righteous nonsense. Tom snapped. You're not family anymore. Don't come back. Linda stared into her untouched mashed potatoes, saying nothing. Jessica's smirk lingered, triumphant. Emily stood, grabbed her coat, and picked up the pecan pie. As she reached the door, Tom's voice followed her, low and cold. We never needed you anyway. Rachel's warning echoed in her mind. She shouldn't have come, but as she stepped into the chilly night, Emily felt no regret. This wasn't running away. This was drawing a line. The next morning, Emily sat at her desk in her small Portland apartment, a steaming mug of coffee beside her. Her laptop screen glowed with the mortgage portal she'd checked religiously for 10 years. Ensuring payments were made, tracking balances, watching interest rates. At 22, she'd co-signed the mortgage under her parents' names, swayed by Tom's insistence that it was her duty as family, and Linda's whispered plea. You're the only one we can count on. So, she'd paid over $2 a month, quietly handling utilities, repairs, and Jessica's endless debts. She never sought recognition, only a sense of belonging. But somewhere along the way, she'd become the outsider in her own family. When she asked about mortgage statements, Tom dismissed her. None of your business. When she raised concerns about Jessica's shady boyfriend, Linda scolded her for being too harsh. Holiday invites grew vague, then stopped. Her seat at the table was gone, her name erased from their conversations. Last night's expulsion had snapped something inside her, a cord she hadn't realized she was still clinging to. She was done carrying the weight of a family that didn't value her. Her phone buzzed. Rachel, her best friend and a lawyer, had sent an email with a draft letter to release Emily from the mortgage's co-signer liability. Don't act on emotion, Rachel wrote. Act on what's legally sound. Emily filled out the template, each word chosen with care. Subject: request for release from loan guarantor obligations. She uploaded it to the bank's portal and hit submit. A flicker of guilt stirred. But the numbers on her payment records, $250 over 10 years, silenced it. She wasn't responsible for Jessica's gambling or her family's denial anymore. Well done, Emily, she whispered to herself. No one else would say it. So she would. Rachel called moments later. You sent it? Just now, Emily replied. You did good. That one click just changed your life. Emily leaned back, closing her eyes. It's weird, she murmured. The wheat's supposed to be gone, but my chest still feels heavy. That's normal, Rachel said softly. You've spent your whole life trying to be the perfect daughter. Guilt's a habit, but realizing it came from a false sense of duty? That's huge. Rachel's words grounded her. She was the only one who truly saw Emily, not the fixer. Not the bankroll, but Emily. What happened at Thanksgiving? Rachel asked. It was a disaster, wasn't it? Awful, Emily admitted. Mom just sat there, silent. She's always been that way, too scared to stand up to Dad. She looked like she understood, but she didn't say a word. You ready for what's next? Emily nodded to herself. Yeah, I'm done with them. Completely. This chapter sets the stage for Emily's journey from family scapegoat to self-empowered individual, capturing the emotional weight of betrayal and the courage to break free. All within a vividly American setting. The Portland skyline shimmered under the July sun as Emily Carter unlocked the door to her new office on a quiet street in the Pearl District. The sign above the entrance read, Phoenix Financial Freedom. Its bold letters a testament to her rebirth from the ashes of a life spent pleasing others. At 32, Emily had spent a decade tethered to her family's expectations, pouring her savings into their mortgage and her sister Jessica's gambling debts. But now, standing in the freshly renovated space, once a quirky art gallery with exposed brick walls and skylights, she felt a spark of something new: purpose. This wasn't just an office, it was a sanctuary for people like her. Women trapped by financial and emotional burdens, yearning to break free. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind. After that disastrous Thanksgiving, when her father, Tom, disowned her and her mother, Linda, sat silent, Emily had taken Rachel Nguyen's advice and severed her financial ties to the family. She'd sent a formal letter to the bank, requesting release as co-signer on her parents' mortgage, a burden she'd carried since she was 22. Fresh out of college, when Tom had called it her family duty. Over 10 years, she'd paid over $250, covering 80% of the loan. Plus Jessica's reckless debts. Yet her family had never thanked her, only demanded more. That night, as she walked away with her pecan pie, she'd vowed to stop being their invisible backbone. Rachel, her best friend and a sharp Portland lawyer, had been her rock. "You're not just cutting ties," Rachel had said over coffee at a bustling downtown cafe. "You're reclaiming your life." Her words stuck with Emily as she navigated the fallout. Jessica had taken to Instagram, posting vague jabs. "Some people are so cold they don't deserve to be called family." Linda had sent a handwritten Christmas card that doubled as a guilt trip, noting an overdue mortgage payment and begging Emily to fix it. Even strangers on social media, swayed by Linda's public posts about ungrateful daughters, judged Emily without knowing her sacrifices. But Rachel was relentless, archiving every harassing post, sending cease and desist letters, and confirming Emily's release from the mortgage. "They thrive on your silence," Rachel said. "Make your boundaries clear now." As Emily arranged her desk, a photo caught her eye, her and Rachel on their college graduation day, beaming under a banner that read, "The future is yours to choose." Back then, Emily had been naive, believing love was earned through sacrifice. She'd tried to be the perfect daughter, paying for her family's mistakes to secure a place in their hearts. But their silence, Tom's cold dismissal, Linda's spineless guilt, Jessica's smug cruelty, had taught her a brutal truth: her worth wasn't tied to their needs. "You don't have to carry them anymore," Rachel had said, and for the first time, Emily believed it. Phoenix financial freedom wasn't just a business, it was her mission. Emily didn't want to be just another financial planner, crunching numbers in a sterile office. She wanted to help women like her, those crushed by family expectations or toxic relationships, find freedom through financial independence. Over the past months, she'd met clients whose stories echoed her own: a 35-year-old divorcee saddled with her ex's debt, a single mom in her 40s controlled by manipulative parents, a corporate woman who'd sacrificed her dreams to support her siblings. Each story fueled Emily's resolve. Financial freedom is emotional freedom, she'd tell them, her voice steady with conviction. It's the power to choose your life without being exploited. Her first client that day was Sarah, a 31-year-old with tired eyes and a toddler's backpack slung over one shoulder. Clutching divorce papers, she sat across from Emily, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know where to start. He left me with nothing but bills." Emily handed her a tissue, her heart steady. "You start wherever you want, Sarah. Here, you're the one writing the story." The words surprised even Emily. A year ago, another's pain would have pulled her under, her empathy a weight she couldn't shake. But now, standing on her own, she could hold space for Sarah without losing herself. As they mapped out a budget and a plan to tackle the debt, Sarah's shoulders relaxed, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Emily felt it too, a quiet pride in building something that mattered. Outside, the summer breeze rustled the trees lining the street. Emily's phone buzzed with an email from Linda. "I just hope you're doing okay." The subject line was neutral, but Emily knew better. It was another plea, another attempt to pull her back into the chaos. She stared at the screen, her finger hovering over the delete button. Did she owe them a response? 6 months ago, she might have, but now, she archived the message, letting the past stay buried. Rachel stopped by that evening, balancing 2 cups of coffee from Stumptown. "First day done," she said, grinning. "How's it feel?" Emily smiled. leaning back in her chair. A little scary, but, right. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. That's how you know it's yours. Rachel said. The old Emily would have doubted herself. This one? She's unstoppable. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city lights flicker through the window. So, what's next? Rachel asked. I want to take back the time I lost. Emily said, her voice clear. I'm done living for their approval. I'm building this for me. Meanwhile, the family Emily had once propped up was unraveling. Without her financial support, Tom and Linda couldn't keep up with the mortgage or property taxes. By spring, the bank had issued a foreclosure notice, and the old house, where Tom's pride and Linda's silence had ruled, was sold off. Tom, who'd always boasted of needing no one, now faced a life of scraping by on a meager pension, his days consumed by repayment plans. Jessica, meanwhile, was drowning in lawsuits. The men she'd conned, including Mark, had banded together, their lawyers exposing her trail of deceit. Her carefully curated social media persona, a glamorous, carefree influencer, crumbled as her accounts went private. Her lies laid bare. Emily didn't feel sadness or vindication, only a quiet acceptance. They'd made their choices, just as she'd made hers. She'd spent years believing she could fix them, that her sacrifices would earn their love. But love wasn't a transaction, and family wasn't a debt she had to pay. Rachel's support had been her lifeline. Beyond legal advice, Rachel had given Emily something more precious: belief in her own worth. This isn't just about money, Rachel had said during one late-night call, as Emily wrestled with guilt. It's about drawing a line. You're allowed to choose yourself. Those words had carried her through the harassment, the public shaming, and the moments of doubt. Now, as Phoenix financial freedom took its first steps, Emily felt a peace she'd never known in her family's home. This office, this mission, this life, it was hers. Built with her own hands. As dusk settled, Emily drafted her first client report. The hum of the city outside a comforting backdrop. Another email from Linda popped up, but she didn't open it. Instead, her eyes landed on a card on her desk, embossed with her company's logo, a phoenix rising in gold. You made it, Emily, she thought, echoing Rachel's words. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There'd be more clients, more stories, maybe even more attempts from her family to pull her back. But Emily wasn't afraid. She'd learned that freedom wasn't given, it was claimed. And she was ready to fight for it. Not just for herself, but for every woman who walked through her door, searching for a way out of the ashes.